What's up, guys? Ryan with Athix Fitness here, and we're doing episode 10 of Vegan Fitness 101 today. Advanced nutrition and supplementation strategies for advanced lifters on a plant-based diet. So let's get right into it. So first of all, I already talked about this before in basic nutrition, but I want to stress the importance of counting calories and weighing your food accurately. There's a few methods you can do this that will make things easier for you. Whenever I'm making food, for instance, I always have a food scale right there next to me. I'll put the pan on the food scale and zero it out, so it shows 0 grams with the pan on it. Then I'll add the ingredients and then just zero it out as I need to for each ingredient. So that way it's all in one pan, ready to go, and it's really no extra effort. Then I'll just track all the food in an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or something, just plug it right in. And it's really just as easy as that, just throw it on the stove and cook it. When you're meal prepping or something, it could get a little bit more tricky, but just basically weigh all your rice or whatever you're cooking in advance in bulk and then boil it. And then once it's done, you can weigh it and divide it into even splits. But I highly stress the importance of counting your calories and tracking your macros, especially if you're an advanced lifter and concerned with maximal body composition, looking the best, being the leanest you possibly can. It's just really a great strategy, and it's really just the only way to eliminate any variables in your nutrition plans. So macro recommendations we already pretty much covered also in the basic nutrition section. There's a little more advanced topics that I'll cover right here. One, for instance, is going to be protein intake for different levels of leanness. The leaner you get, let's say below 12% or so, and you're cutting, the higher I want to see your protein macros come up, especially if you're cutting into single-digit body fat. The higher your protein is, the more your body will have a reason to hold on to that muscle when it's so energy starved and really wanting to get rid of it for the sake of just minimizing your energy expenditure throughout the day. Eating more protein is going to give your body more of a reason to keep that muscle around. There's studies showing that protein intake as high as 1.5 grams per pound of body weight or something for natural competing bodybuilders may actually be beneficial. That's super, super high and pretty much a miserable diet. But if you're dieting that low and want to look that good for a natural bodybuilding show or something, then it may be worth looking into that. It may be worth experimenting with for yourself. If you're higher body fat percentage, if you're like a power lifter or something and in a more advanced stage, you may not need that much protein at all, actually. You could probably get by with 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. You're carrying a lot of muscle as a more advanced powerlifter, but you're carrying a lot of fat also. You might not need, 250 grams of protein if you weigh 250 pounds. You might be fine with 200 grams. There's a little bit of individual experimentation that you can kind of go along with there. So kind of experiment and see what works best for you. In terms of fat and carb intake, I like to see carb intake pretty high for strength athletes, just because carbs really fuel a lot of that intense training that we're doing. So for fat intake, generally try to keep it about 20% of your total calories, enough for general hormonal health and everything. The leaner you get and the lower your calories get, the more you're probably going to have to take calories away from fat. Try to get enough fat in from healthy sources like nuts and seeds and such, but don't overly stress it. Calories have to come from somewhere at that point, and you're not going to be cutting too lean for too long, hopefully. So you're probably going to have to take some calories from fat. I'd rather you still keep a decent amount of carbs in than going too low carb. So in terms of protein timing, this is really going to only apply to the top 1% of lifters out there really trying to get that little tiny bit of extra muscle. There's some evidence showing that, increasing muscle protein synthesis throughout the whole day with equal distributions of protein timing can maybe help, technically, because you're always in an anabolic state, assuming your calories are high enough too. So it may be helpful to try to divide your meals into roughly equal distributions of 3 to 4 hours apart or so. So this would mean that you wouldn't be doing something like intermittent fasting. Technically, intermittent fasting actually wouldn't be optimal for trying to build the maximal amount of muscle, but you can still build a ton of muscle with intermittent fasting, and it's a healthy approach. But if you really want to try to get that last 1 pound, then maybe protein timing might help a little bit. It might be worth experimenting with if you're a competitive natural bodybuilder or something. Try it 3 to 4 hours apart with protein intakes of about 40 to 60 grams per meal or so. And then in terms of pre-workout nutrition, I recommend a fast digesting carb source for the most part, or pretty fast digesting. Something like a bagel or maybe English muffins or something, maybe some breakfast cereal, a small carb meal before workout. You can include some protein in there if you want. I like something very light, like just a bagel with hummus. It's something you can just eat pretty quickly. It's not heavy in your stomach. Some people just don't like to eat a heavy meal at all before a workout. I understand that. If you could probably give yourself an hour or two before you go to the gym to digest, it's probably best, but otherwise eat a small little snack before you go, something high in carbs, like I said, like a bagel for instance, and you're pretty much good to go.
Step 6, I grab a bagel from the cafeteria and run.
In terms of peri-nutrition workout, so like in the middle of your workout, I like Gatorade actually, just to sip on. Just gives you a steady stream of fast digesting carbs that your body can utilize right away. Also, I'm fairly convinced by some of the stuff that John Meadows is saying, for instance, about trying to add essential amino acids into like a dextrose blend, like Gatorade, for instance, just to give your body the little extra amount of amino acids during that workout. I think BCAAs and essential amino acids are, for the most part, kind of a ripoff. There's really no reason to really have them for 99% of people. But if you're that 1% really trying to get that little tiny bit of benefit, then I think the only time to really be getting those amino acids that would be optimal for you is either in the middle of a workout or drinking fasted before doing fasted cardio, for instance, just to kind of like have that anti-catabolic property before you start doing some cardio, and maybe could help a little bit. For post-workout nutrition, the protein window theory is pretty much bullshit for the most part. You don't have to eat 30 minutes after a workout. Just try to eat probably a couple hours after your workout, the very most, and try to get a pretty protein-heavy meal then, just to spike the muscle protein synthesis up. So this goes back to protein timing a little bit. So if you're really interested in maximizing muscle growth, then maybe dispersing your meals in equal distributions throughout the day, every 3 to 4 hours, with at least 40 grams of protein. 40 grams of protein has been shown to maximize muscle protein synthesis, roughly. On a plant-based diet, though, you might want to go a little bit higher, maybe 50 or so, to really maximize those levels, maximize potential hypertrophy. So that may be something worth considering if you're a competitive bodybuilder. So protein before bed is a consideration that I heard sometimes. Having a slow digesting protein or a fairly big meal, maybe rich in fiber and protein, may be worth considering if you're really trying to just maximize hypertrophy. And the theory behind this is your body is going to be growing while you're sleeping to an extent. If you give your body a slow digesting protein to kind of fuel that growth, it could theoretically help a little bit. If you don't want to make a full meal or anything, you could just drink like a protein shake that's pretty slow digesting before bed. Hemp protein has been shown to be pretty slow digesting. That could be a decent one, but that's something to consider there. So if you're cutting and getting pretty lean, I would say like below 12% body fat, below 10%, especially single digit, you're definitely going to want to start incorporating refeed days and even maintenance weeks. I recommend slow cuts so you don't have to rush anything and you're not risking losing extra lean tissue. You can kind of just take your time with the cut also, which is nice. It's good mentally. Refeed days are great because they kind of restore your levels of hormones like leptin and such, and you kind of put your body in a better state to continue the diet. It's good mentally too, just to give yourself a little more space. A refeed day is really just increasing the calories by about maybe up to 500 calories per day. And if you're going to be incorporating these refeeds, you're probably already tracking. So let's say you're cutting at about 2,400 calories. You'd go up to about 2,800, 2,900 maybe for at least 2 days in a row to really get those hormones back to normal. It shouldn't really affect your cut too much, the timing wise, but it should help you hold on to a little more tissue just from giving your body a little bit of a break. If you're feeling particularly worn down psychologically or physically, consider putting in a whole maintenance week, which is basically a refeed for a full week, where you're still tracking your calories, you're still eating smart, but you're giving your body a little time to recover, a little more than just a couple refeed days back to back. These have been shown to help you hold on to a little more muscle mass as you diet too, so definitely do that if you're trying to get very lean. The reason I recommend you not to do a fast cut is because it just risks you losing a little more muscle mass, and assuming that's your goal to just not lose extra muscle mass, there's no reason not to do a slow cut. If you really are trying to cut quickly, then sure, you could do a fast cut. I just wouldn't think that it's optimal for your ideal body composition, really. Also, crash dieting like that can be very hard on your body. When I crash dieted, I craved food. It was insane. I felt like a crazy person because I just thought about food all the time. And if you're cutting slow, you probably won't feel like that as much. So I highly recommend doing that. In terms of minimizing fat gain on a bulk, there's really no perfect way to do this. If you're bulking, you're going to be gaining fat at a certain level. The best way to minimize fat gain is just to limit the amount of calories that you're taking in, just to the point where you're getting just enough to keep gaining weight slowly, but not too fast. So I'd recommend a rate of about 1 to 2 pounds tops per every week or so if you're bulking. I'm not really an advocate of like extreme bulking or anything. I would say try to stay in the range of about let's say 12 to 17% body fat. for the most part. You can probably build most of your muscle and strength being around 15%. You don't have to bulk much, but it can be kind of nice both psychologically and physically. It's just to hit those PRs and such. It's kind of a little bit of an ego boost to get a little bit stronger for a while, and it kind of breaks things up a little bit. So it's a good approach if you'd like that. Besides just trying to keep your bulk slow, there's really no other magic way to decrease fat gain while you're bulking. It's just pretty much inevitable. You just have to kind of accept it. Just try not to get too fat. Don't go too high of a body fat percentage ever. It's probably not necessary, like I said, but just keep it in check. So reverse dieting is a strategy that you could use after coming out of a cut. This basically means that you're tracking your calories and slowly going up week after week with a certain amount of calories, trying to find where your new maintenance is. So if you end a cut at about 2,400 calories, let's say you're about 10% body fat, and you want to minimize that fat gain afterwards, initially add in about 250 calories on top of that 2,400 that you're cutting at, so you're up to about 2,650. See how that goes for about a week. Check your weight on the scale for a while, and then if you're not really going up too much in weight and you still look good in the mirror, then add about 100 calories per week until you start like hitting that threshold where you feel like if you go above, you'll start putting on too much fat. That's the best way to do it in my opinion. Reverse diets, take them slow. I like to do week after week, like I said. There's no need to really rush that. You're just trying to find your new maintenance calories. So one other strategy for advanced nutrition, I would say, is strategically using caffeine pre-workout to really focus on improving your performance. Studies show that about 400 milligrams of caffeine pre-workout is probably ideal for increasing strength. That's a lot of caffeine, and I personally don't like to get that much. I usually get about 200 milligrams, give or take, but still getting that little kick before workout can really help a lot. If you have a little more energy to put into your workouts over time from caffeine, then you can go a little harder in your workouts. Over time, that can mean a little more hypertrophy, a little more gains, and that's really what we're looking for with the caffeine usage here. So those are some more advanced nutrition tips there. Hope that helps you guys a little bit, and if you guys like the video, please like the video below, subscribe to my channel, that really helps me out, and give me a comment if you guys have any questions or concerns. And besides that, see you guys in the next episode, episode 11. Peace out.